WWPT Westport 90.3 on your FM dial. 341-1381 is the number to call throughout the show, or you can call Tokay Hall. I'd like to kick the mic over to Dr. Don Cohen, live talking about diversity, and here he goes with his special surprise.
Thanks, DJ Sketch. Welcome, Don Cohen. Kids are talking. Diversity is the topic tonight. We got off to a little rough start with technical difficulty, but that's live radio, and that's what makes Kids Are Talking special. We're not very formal around here, and you'll see tonight I've already called my guests. We're here hanging out at the kitchen table, ready to talk to you about a lot of important issues that a lot of people in this area, as well as areas around, don't address enough in an honest and direct manner. Just so you know, in a little while we'll be taking your phone calls at 341-1155, and please call in and talk to our guests on the show, and feel free to ask them any questions you want. But before we do anything, we have a surprise tonight, and as Dave's been telling you, I went down to see Dave before the show. We're kind of building up this surprise. We're going to do something tonight that is actually going to be a regular event on Kids Are Talking. We're going to have a song each week that is going to be played out for you that will be basically staying with the theme of each show. To the right side of me, I have a gentleman, Mike Budd, who is going to sing a song tonight about diversity, because that's tonight's theme. And we're going through the season with Kids Are Talking. And each week when we have something to talk about, Mike's going to sing about it before we can even talk about it. So without anything more to say, I'm going to put the mic over to Mike Budd, and he's going to sing you his song. So here we go.
Some say they're straight or bi or gay, but I say we're all just shades of gray, from black to white, and all the races are shades of gray on all our faces. And if you don't know what I'm trying to say, you'll just see one shade of gray, because black was there on an all-white page, but the pictures appear in shades of gray. And what about that Jewish guy? Some people say he was crucified. Buddhists enlightened to the sky, and Shinto shrines with nature vibe. You get wise, you realize there's shades of gray within all our lives. Doesn't matter how you pray, it's all just different shades of gray. And when the sun slowly sets at night, the world don't turn to black and white. We'll watch the light as it fades away, and all hues turn to shades of gray. When you label things in black and white, the colors within are lost from sight, and you can take all the colors away. What must remain are the shades of gray.
Thank you, Mike Budd. Get used to his voice, because we're going to hear it again at the end of the show and every week, and I hope you all like that. I think it's a masterpiece. So I think what I have to do now, because it's a tradition on Kids Are Talking, is to say that this radio program is an open forum, and the views expressed by hosts, participants, or callers are not to be considered the views of the Tokay Hall Governing Board, the Westport Board of Education, or the town of Westport. Now, without any more preliminaries, the stars of tonight's show, our guests, the ones who we really want to hear from, are going to give you a brief introduction. And tonight is also unusual because I'm going to co-host the show tonight. I'm not doing this by myself, because I have a very special co-host who does a lot of very important things in the community and has a very special program that she's going to talk about that all these kids were part of. So I'm going to take it over to her now and let her begin the introductions for tonight's show.
Okay. My name is Michelle Pincince, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Anti-Defamation League's A World of Difference Institute. Long title, what does it mean? Anti-Defamation League is one of the world's oldest human rights organizations working to fight prejudice and provide a safe and just world for all people. A World of Difference is its educational program that goes into schools and communities, fighting prejudice and helping people build a better world. Names Can Really Hurt Us is the name of one of the programs that the Connecticut office of the Anti-Defamation League developed for high school students throughout the state to work on these issues in their school. It's to bring students together, create change, and really have an opportunity to share. It's a program by and for students. And we have with us today the privilege of some of the students who participated in this program from Weston and Staples High School. And let's hear a little bit from them and what the program meant to them.
My name is Matt Rudomansky. I'm 16 from Weston High School. On Diversity Day, when I heard about Diversity Day coming forward, to be honest, I was not too thrilled about the idea. I thought it would be another day of lectures, just watching someone stand up on stage and speak about what they felt, not being able to participate. And once it got started, we had a chance to get up on stage and share our own experiences, and it was truly incredible. I feel like the school came to a whole new level of honesty with the students just heard about other people's experiences, and from that, you got to know who people were more. You got to respect them because you knew what they'd been through. And just walking around the school at lunchtime, it was a whole new sense of community. People were smiling, laughing, kids were talking to kids they usually didn't talk to, The whole school environment was just different. You felt happy to be there rather than another day walking through the halls and being scared of people calling you names. It was a truly amazing experience.
I'm Lindsay Kaufman, and I'm also 16, and I'm a junior at Weston High School. I agree with Matt. I think the program was an amazing day. At first, we had a lot of apprehension, and a lot of people weren't too sure of going to the program and coming, to school even that day. But once it got started, everyone realized what an amazing program it was, and so many people that you wouldn't ordinarily think would speak out got up on stage and really let you get to know them better, and it made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives.
You were the moderator, Lindsay?
Yes.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Steve Haberstroh. I'm 18 and a senior at Staples, and actually my junior year is when I first started doing things with the diversity program. I was a panel speaker my junior year, and I was a little nervous at first, but once I got talking, things really opened up. Everyone was honest, and it really is a great program because it bridges a lot of gaps between different people, not only racism, like everything from sports to who you hang out with, where you sit in the cafeteria. It really opened things up, and I got a chance to make a lot of new friends, and it just helps the school and the community because everyone comes together, and it's very unique, and I hope that we can do it more often because we only do it once a year. We have an entire day devoted to diversity and acceptance, and I wish it was just something we did like once a month or something because it really makes a difference in the school.
Thanks, Steve.
My name is Michael Griffin. I'm a junior at High School. I think this is a really diversity day program to talk about. It really affected me. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed hearing some people's stories, and actually to work as a co-facilitator this year. And I think it really, as everyone said, it really helps everyone to understand where everyone comes from, that all comes from different backgrounds, and has different paths in life, and to share them, and that's what makes them really amazing.
Thanks a lot,
Hi, my name is Lawrence Steinberg. I'm a senior at Weston High School. I'm 17 years old. I was approached by a teacher at Weston High School to do the program to be a panelist and to speak in front of my whole school. And at first I really didn't want to tell my story. I spoke about chronic disease and about Asher's Down syndrome. At first I didn't want to talk about that in front of everyone. It was kind of a private matter. But I finally decided to do it, and I'm really glad I did because I feel so free telling everyone there's a big relief. Everyone cared how great my speech was, and had their mood on my speech, and that they really appreciated how great it was to tell everyone. So it was a really great experience for me and everyone at my school. So I really enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot, Lonnie. So what do you think, in terms of your own personal experience with the program, what was most, what stands out most for you all in terms of what you saw that went on that day and what you went through during that day?
Well, I think the most meaningful part of the whole day is, it's one thing to sit in the audience and hear someone speak, and you may not be able to relate to it, but for about like the last 20 minutes, anyone can come up and just say how they feel. And the last 2 years that we've done it at Staples, people have actually cried. They've got up and told their story and said, something they've been upset about or really happy about, and they just, they let it all out. And it really does help people get along together because you understand where other people are coming from and you just have an open frame of mind. So I think when everyone gets to share their stories and the interaction is the best part, most meaningful.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
I agree. I think the open mic portion was the best part of the day's program at Weston, because a lot of people who you wouldn't ordinarily think would talk, and a lot of people that you don't hear much from and that are very quiet, really got up and talked about the things that really bothered them, and it made you see a whole new side of everybody and understand where they were really coming from. And I think that was really moving, to know other people that you wouldn't ordinarily speak to or hear from, and to know what things are really like for them.
I have to agree with both of them. I think the open mic was the best, but I think it was the best part of the day because it allowed kids to start becoming open and start being able to trust more students within the school. And I just know from my personal experience, once we left for lunch for the program, there was students just around their friends talking in a deep way, talking about things they usually didn't discuss. And I think just the way that it started out kids to be able to be more open with their friends, I think that was the most amazing part. After the program ended, it carried on throughout the school, that the kids were able to trust each other. They were able to speak about insecurities they had about where this name calling, where the trouble they were giving other people were coming from, and I just think that the open mic just really started that off by people getting up and being able to say what they felt. It really started that all off.
And you all, it sounds like a great program. By the way, this Don Cohen, Kids Are Talking, it's Diversity Tonight, ADL, World of Difference program. I have the guests here, and the person who's in charge of that program, one of the people that's in charge of that program. And if you want to call us at 341-1155, we'd love to get your phone calls. We're at 58 Post Road East down at Tokay Hall. So if you want to stop in and say hello, that's fine. Our website is kidsaretalking.org. Our email is drdon@kidsaretalking.org. If you want to email us, we're happy to hear from you. And Lonnie, all of you, I'm interested in hearing some more about your personal experiences in terms of what people we need to get a sense of what's really going on, and you all really can bring that to the show tonight. So maybe, Lonnie, you were talking about your experience. We'll start with you.
Well, I started out saying how around school people saw me drink a lot of those shirt drinks that I drink in school, and a lot of people asked me why I drink them, and it's because I have Crohn's. And then I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was in 5th grade. It was a big portion of my life, and it's been very hard for me because I had to stay home from school often. When I was sick, I had to do answer cans in school. It was a little embarrassing at first. I'm shorter, smaller than usual, so I just how people treat me having this disease was very hard for me, and so it took a lot of courage for me to tell people that it was hard for me. Just saying the words was a big part for me. And that's a big part of the program.
Don, sorry to interrupt, but we can't hear the kid who's talking at all. It's not coming through. Yeah.
Right.
Tell him to talk up a little.
Talk up a little louder. Can you hear him now?
No, it's like echoed, and you can barely hear a word he's saying.
Well, maybe it's our mic. He's got a lot to say. I think he's got a lot to say, so we want to make sure he's being heard. Are you hearing the rest of us, Dave?
Yeah, everyone else is sounding good but him.
Okay, what do you think, DJ?
It sounds great.
How about that song?
That was excellent.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that coming.
Should I hire him?
Yeah, hire him up.
All right. Let's try this mic now. Go ahead, Lonnie.
Okay, well,
how's that?
Much better.
I think we just have a mic that's not doing its thing. Maybe we'll see if we can figure that one out. So go ahead, Lonnie.
Does it work now?
Did you hear any of Lonnie?
Yeah, I hear him now.
All right, maybe, Lonnie, you better rewind. We're going to have to just go with a couple of mics tonight.
Okay, well, I was saying that I started out my speech saying that I drink Ensure cans a lot in school. I drink a lot of Ensure, and it's a very embarrassing thing, and the reason I drink it is because I have Crohn's disease. And I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was in 5th grade, and it's been a real big part of my life. And it's pretty embarrassing when I have to drink the Ensure cans. I'm smaller than usual, I'm shorter than usual. So I was approached to tell everyone how embarrassing that was for me. And just saying the words, I thought, in front of everyone was a big part of the program, and that's a reason the program was so successful for me, probably, because just saying that all these times I felt embarrassed in front of those people drinking the Ensure.
Were people teasing you, making fun of you?
Yeah, a little bit, and sometimes behind my back, and sometimes they thought I couldn't hear, and I did, and it really hurt, and just saying that I was hurt by those comments was a big part, and I also spoke about my brother who has Down syndrome, who is also teased, and it was in a similar situation that I was. He used to go to a school where he was teased often, and he became very depressed because of it. So I talked about my brother, I talked about myself, and I got it all out, and it felt great. It really did.
Wow, that's quite something, and very brave.
Thank you very much.
Let's pass our good mics around here. For all of you kids who are talking, if you want to call in at 341-1155, it's Don Cohen, and we're talking about diversity.
This is Steve again.
Steve Habestraw from Westport.
The biggest part, the most meaningful part of Diversity Day really is I try to make everyone understand that in life you got to take risks. And when I was a freshman, I made a really ignorant comment to one of my friends regarding her battle with anorexia and bulimia, and it actually ruined my friendship with her for an entire year. And it was through the NAMES diversity program where I was actually able to finally apologize. And I wanted everyone to realize you got to take risks. People make mistakes, and if you make fun of someone or you do something without realizing it, you got to stand up and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I might have said it in a split second, but I want you to know that I care about what you're going through, and just own up to your mistakes and realize that everyone is different, and you can't be perfect. So own up to your responsibilities.
Lindsay, I'll be right with you. I just wanted to ask Steve, what do you think at that time, the difference in who you are now and who you were then? What was going on in your head at that time?
When I made the comment, or when I thought?
Yeah, when you made the comment, and of course, you just share the growth for you in terms of who you are now.
Initially, when I made the comment, I was looking to get a couple laughs from my friends. I thought it was a witty thing to say, when in actuality it crushed her.
So you were being cool?
Yeah, I thought, I was being cool. My friends.
Young,
I was a freshman, and it's kind of a rough point in people's lives.
An identity.
Exactly. And, right afterwards, I was devastated with myself, and it's also hard because you did something wrong, but it's hard to own up to it and swallow your pride and say, I got to do something about this. I spent a lot of time in torment. Not always, but I felt really guilty about it.
I hope other people could learn it's good to own who you are and face up to things you did and to move on from there. Lindsay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, in response to what Lon and Steve had said, people say things, at least in Lon's situation, where people had said things to him, and I guess nobody really realized how much of an effect it has on the person you're saying things to. And you say things, and they don't necessarily mean much to you, but for the person you're saying them to, they can really hurt, which is why the names can really hurt us as a perfect name for the program, because that's really the stem of the problems when people say things that they don't know, the effect they have on people.
Well, that's true for adults too, isn't it? I tell you, I see it with my friends and my colleagues. Go ahead, Michelle.
That's one of the reasons we created the program, is there's not a place in high school for students to really share those kinds of feelings. You go home at the end of the day feeling like you're the only one that's getting picked on, that there is no hope, that no one will ever stand up for you. And one of the nice changes we see with the program is that when people have a chance to really share how these things impact them, not only do they gain people who will then stand up for them, but people really learn the impact of their words. Time and time again, I've seen students come up and actually apologize in front of their entire high school for the things that they've done. And in one instance, the person really begged for people to give him a chance, so he was going to try and change his ways. He was one of the biggest bullies in the school. And from that program, he really learned that he was hurting people terribly.
Yeah, a big thing for me was seeing how many other people there was that was in my situation when we were having the open mic session at our school. There were tons of people just trying to get into that mic and trying to say something. There's so many people that was in the same situation, and that just felt great, and that was one of the greatest things for me.
And you didn't know that until then.
Right. I didn't realize how many people there were that felt like this. And there's so many people, and there's so many people that wanted to talk and that wanted to be in this group, that have other people that were in that situation with them.
Is it lasting? That's what I want to know. This is obviously a great experience, but I want to know what happens 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 5 months later. Have you sensed in both schools that it has continued to follow in good rhythm?
I think in terms of the people I know...
Hannah from Westport.
In terms of the people I know, I think the effect varies from person to person. Some people are greatly affected. I know a bunch of people who, from the Diversity Day, people use the word retard a lot, and it's really offensive. I'm sure it's offensive to Lon, and many other people. And a lot of kids I know really have made an effort not to say that, and they don't, and they speak up against other people saying that. That's just one example. And I think other people aren't as affected by it, but I think for the most part,
it really does make people realize how their words can hurt and how people are affected by just something that you may think is nothing, but it does mean something.
Thanks, Hannah. I'll tell you it's true. We really have to be more aware about what we say to people. And if you're missing Kids Are Talking tonight, you are missing a very special show with some very special kids. Call in at 341-1155. And Lindsay, I think you're anxious to get to the mic, so go ahead. Got some anxious kids on the table here tonight.
I think it's the type of thing where, while it does have an effect on some people, other people brush it off and forget about it. But it's the type of program where it affects a lot of people, and even if it's the type of thing where only a couple people are really affected and really change from it, it's well worth it, because what everyone says counts, and even if it only reaches out and affects a few people, it's still very worthwhile, and it still helps to make so many people feel better.
Even when people appear to just shrug it off, and they also are affected, and I realized that at the program. I really did.
Got a little static? You guys all right? No panic with static.
Yep.
Matt, you look like you want to get to the mic.
Get over here.
Go ahead, Matt.
I just sort of wanted to take it back into my personal experience, and it sort of leads into how long this has stayed with me for. My personal experience sort of goes in two different directions. First, in middle school, I was pretty different than a lot of kids. I experienced a lot of things at a young age. I got into drugs when I was pretty young. I had a lot of problems with my family. I had to leave school for numerous times, going to a mental hospital a couple of times. There was a lot of problems I had, and I remember the times I was in school, just walking through the halls, and the kids that, I dressed differently, the kids that would call me a faggot, the kids that would use derogatory terms to me, the kids that it just seemed like all they wanted to do was hurt me. And I remember it made school feel like a hell for me. It didn't make me. School didn't feel like a place I could go to learn, a place I could go to get an education. It felt like a place I could go to be tormented. And I went away to a boarding school for a while, and I changed a lot. I came back to school, and I found myself with my group of friends sort of falling into calling other people names. And what Diversity Day really did for me, and why it's lasted in my mind so long, is that it made me realize a big reason why I do call other people names, why I do get into that. And it's not so much trying to be cool. It's not so much that, I want to look good. It's more that it's coming from my own insecurities. A lot of times I feel I'm scared to go back to where I was and be the one being made fun of. And I feel, it's either you're the hunted or the hunter. And I feel like I need to jump on a kid before I get jumped on. And Diversity Day really opened my mind to that. I really realized, this is the reason I do it. And from that, I was able to think about how I can change that.
How are the kids with you now, Matt? Do they treat you differently?
For the most part, I've changed my image a lot. I've changed the way I act. For the most part, kids have treated me completely differently. I don't really get made fun of anymore. But what I'm trying to do is share my experience with my friends. A lot of the people that I was close with when I was younger are a lot of the kids who are some of the cruelest people in our school, to be totally honest. Are a lot of the kids who make fun of the ones that are different. And all I want to try to do is share what my experience has been with them, because I think, if I can share with them what I've been through, it might change one person. If I can do that, then that's great for me.
That's kind of what Lindsay was saying, right? It sounds like what you're saying is it doesn't matter how many people are changed, as long as you see some people being affected by it, right? What are some of the issues that we should be concerned about right now? What do you see going on in Weston and Westport and around the country? What are some of the things we should be concerned about?
Well, at least in Weston, I don't think that it's necessarily the huge issues. Like, it's not a very diverse school, therefore there's not much racial differences, and there aren't that many ethnic differences. But it really comes down to things that aren't as huge an issue as that, as things like, at least in Weston, like the cafeteria you eat in, or the people you hang out with. And it's not necessarily a big issue that makes you different from everyone else. It's little things that really change the way that people think of you. And at least in Weston, our cafeterias, for example, are two very different places where most people eat in one cafeteria or the other, and it's not really the type of thing where you eat in both. You're either on this side of the cafeteria or that side, and it's really a very different place where you hang out with entirely different people, and it's the type of thing where people can even be made to feel uncomfortable if they step into the cafeteria that they don't usually eat in.
Really? Does that go on at Staples as well?
Yeah,
that reminds me of my childhood. Things haven't changed. Go ahead.
She makes a good point. We're not, you walk through the halls of Staples, you're not going to see any swastikas, or, people aren't going to make fun of races or anything, but it's a lot of the little things. Like, there's a big sort of ongoing fight between, the jocks and, the 4 building freaks, as people call them. It's just a building it's just the same hallways, all the other hallways, and, different kind of kids hang out there, and most of the jocks, they don't want to go over there and talk to them, and they kind of make fun of them, but when you go over there, you realize, these kids are the same as everyone else, and through this diversity day and just sharing your feelings, you realize that everyone is the same, and like, deep down inside, everyone experiences the same things, and we're all growing up, and we're, coming to our own, and we're trying to figure out who we want to be when we're older, and, high school, you deal with a lot of things, and it really makes life easier if you can accept everyone and just, share what you're going through, and because you'll find out that you are going through very similar things to everyone. I mean, like on the surface, they don't look very similar, but if you talk about it, you share your feelings, you can really find a lot of like meaningful relationships and even discussions that open your eyes and help you see, the broader things in life.
You have an email from Gary in Westport. He wants to know, how do you think the way parents bring up their children affects the way they view people of a different religion, race, etc.?
I know from my personal experience, the way my parents brought me up, I was always taught to have an open mind. I was always taught that not to put other people down, not to think differently of people who dress differently, of people with different sexual preferences, people with different colors. A big problem wasn't with my parents, it was more with society around me. I think my parents did a good job helping me have an open mind, and that went so far, but it was just the school environment. I mean, I was around my parents to a certain degree, but the core part of my life is in school. We go to school every day, 5 days a week, and what happens in school can take over what your parents have taught you to a certain extent. And a lot of what I learned in school, our school is not very diverse as far as it goes as race. And I went to school in Norwalk for a year, and it wasn't until I was around people of different races that I became real comfortable with it. And it's the school. The way society is, I think, comes down a certain amount on you, but what I found most powerful is to realize who you are. And I think that's one of the person who's in charge of ADL, she just asked me if she thinks it's had a lasting effect. And I think that for the people who believe in themselves, for the people who realize who they are and what they want to do with their lives, for the people who take it in and choose to make it mean something for them, are the people who it's meant something to, who are the people who are still carrying what ADL has done to this day. And I think if everyone just looked more within themselves, realized who they are, I think people would become more comfortable with the people around them.
Hannah?
I agree with what Matt.
Hannah from Westport. Kids are talking about diversity. And now you can put your headset back on, I hope. Go ahead.
I agree with everything Matt just said. I think it is important what parents teach their kids about having an open mind, but I think also it's important for kids to be secure with their own beliefs in themselves, because a lot of the name calling and such comes from kids being insecure themselves. And I think that's important, that they learn to be confident and with themselves and their beliefs and everything about that, so that they don't have to put other people down to feel okay with themselves.
How do we get kids to feel that? Go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to ask, how do we get kids to feel more? Go ahead, you might want to say something.
Yeah, I was going back to Gary's question.
Go ahead.
I sort of disagree with what Matt said. I agree that school does make a big difference, but I think that the stem of the problem really comes from your childhood, because school only takes on so much when you're older. It's when you're young, what you experience and the way your parents raise you, I think makes a huge difference. I think that kids, like at least with myself, coming from a more varied racial background from living in New York City to moving here, you experience a lot more, which makes you a lot more open-minded. And when you're raised by the parents who are somewhat discriminating against other people, you really go off to school thinking that way, and that's what really hurts other people.
Anybody else want to comment on that? I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think she also enough to live in Brazil for 5 years, and that opened my eyes a lot, because I lived in a nice, beautiful town in New Jersey for the first 4 years of my life, and then from 5 to 9 years old, I was living in Brazil. And there's so many different people there. It's such a different lifestyle. And, it opened my eye in terms of racially. I was open to very many things. And I came back to Westport having lived with different kinds of people. And like they were saying, Lindsay and Matt, society makes a big difference. It's where you live. It's what you experience. And I think experience is what teaches us. I mean, you got to experience new things, and like I was saying earlier, just take risks.
Well, what you learn at home doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. Initially, that just sets your foundation for the rest of your life.
Matt, you want to jump in on this? Maybe a bunch of people want to jump in on this. Hannah too.
I think society and I think parents play a role to a certain degree, but I think in high school, a lot of us are going off to college in a few years, and I think that the biggest point that Diversity Day made for me is that it's time for us to start taking responsibilities for ourselves. Every time I call a kid a name, it's not because of my parents, it's not because of society, it's because of something I feel, and I think
the blame kick.
Yeah. I think the reason I've been able to change so much is because I took a real look at myself, and I decided I stopped blaming other people, I stopped blaming all my problems on other people, and I realized it's me, and if I want to change the way I feel, if I want to change what I'm doing to other people, I can. I don't have to feel victimized by society and by my parents. It's all up to me. I can change whatever I want.
How did you finally realize that, man? Because that goes back to Hannah. It was a question I was going to ask earlier about how, for people out there, how did that happen for you?
To be honest, it took some extreme measures for me. I went to a wilderness program in a boarding school, and that's really when I took a look at myself. And I don't think it needs to be that extreme, but the boarding school that I went to, it was taught that you need to take an honest look at yourself. There was principles, there was truth, there was integrity, there was concern. There was certain things that we were taught, ways that it wasn't like taught, but it was an idea given to us about a way we could live our lives. And I think that the biggest thing that the school did, the biggest reason the school made it so well is because it taught how to have an open mind, and the only way to have an open mind, I believe, the only way I've come to have an open mind is to become comfortable with yourself, and the only way you can do that is if you're honest with yourself, I think.
Also, what I'm learning tonight is you have to take risks. I mean, for a while you lost it, but there's a lot of redemption sometimes in experimenting and going on your journey, and sometimes we take routes that take us places that we maybe want not to go to, but maybe you wouldn't be where you are today, perhaps.
Yeah, I think I don't believe in a certain religion, but I believe in a higher power, and I thank that higher power every day for what I went through when I was younger, because it wouldn't have brought me to where I am today, and I'm grateful for who I am today.
So don't be afraid to experiment with who you are, as long as you're open to the fact that there can be more than one life you can live, and there can be redemption. Yes, Lindsay?
I agree with that. I think it's...
Lindsay from Weston.
Well, things can be hard when you're younger, and when experiencing things and experiencing people making fun of you is difficult. It really brings about a better person, and it really helps you to grow into a better person, whereas the kids who've never really experienced things like Matt or Lon or people here have experienced, that you really come and you've never experienced it, and so you don't really understand what you're doing to other people. And it takes a program like this to bring about such change where you can hear other people and realize that it really does matter, even if you haven't experienced it yourself.
So as much as we don't like to go through it, sometimes adversity does bring on change and transformation. It takes us out of our sheltered existence and out of our denial.
Especially in towns like Weston and Westport.
Right.
Yeah, Lonnie, I was going to ask you, are they still, are you finding that people are being nicer to you now, or is it changing for you?
Yeah, the program definitely helped. I definitely noticed a difference. No one would ever tease me or anything like that afterwards. Everyone is very accepting when I take out the unsure in English class or something. Great. Yeah, it's been so great, and it's been so the program was so good for our school and for me and for everyone, I think.
Michelle's smiling. You must be very proud of these kids, aren't you, Michelle?
I am, but what's great is that these kids, you can say, oh, these are just exceptional kids, they're the exceptions to the rule.
We have people, the cynics around there.
I've got kids like, I can bring them in from all over the state of Connecticut, everywhere we've been. I've got students who have the same kind of impact from the program, and again, in response to Gary...
We're not being sponsored by ADL tonight.
No, we're not sponsored by ADL, but we're just here talking about diversity, but we do this program because we do believe that prejudice is learned. You're not born prejudiced. And one of the real ways that we feel you can unlearn prejudice is by having these powerful and impactful experiences, whether it's experiences of adversity yourself or hearing from someone else's experiences. And we reach people through their hearts, through their guts sometimes, to be able to change their minds and their attitudes. And that can create real change. And when you asked about a lasting effect, one of the things we challenge the students in our program to do is come up with next steps. Where do you want to go from here? So that each school can come up with ideas of what kinds of things can we do as individuals or as a school to create change. And I'm going to put Lindsay on the spot because I know she had a list of some of the ideas that Weston had come up with.
Well, I know Staples had the program for 2 years in a row, and they had their initial program, and then I guess they repeated the same program the following year. Weston, actually, this was our first year, and we've never been through the program before, and we're really hoping to bring the program back each year, because I think it's the type of thing that even though people have experienced it, every new class that comes into the high school really also needs the experience of going through it. We also want to bring hopefully a program to the middle school, because I think that in high school people can be more accepting than in middle school, and I think that a lot of the problems, at least with Matt, I know, it stemmed from middle school, and that's where kids can be really mean, because once you get into high school, you really start to realize what's right and what's wrong, whereas in middle school, it's more difficult.
That's what Steve so eloquently spoke about in his own experience before, actually.
Yeah.
Were you done, Lindsay? Oh, we have a little spill of water. That's okay. You know what? It's we deal with everything our kids are talking. You've gone through all our technical difficulties tonight, so it's a little spilling of the water. Go ahead. Were you done, Lindsay? Steve?
Yeah, I think middle school is definitely a place where we have to, speak about it, because I just remember middle school. I was a very stubborn person. All my friends were very stubborn. If you're not like me, then I don't want to talk to you. And I actually had the opportunity to go to Bedford Middle School last year and speak with the 8th graders. And, I shared my story, and I told them, I gave them my advice. And, at first they're all just, whatever, what is this kid talking about? But you need to experience, to have someone talk to you. It really, once you start thinking about it, you're going to change. And the kids in middle school just need to hear experiences, and that's the roughest time in life. I mean, they're just really, really cruel.
They're trying to fit in, know who they are, right? And they did a good job cleaning up your water around your mic.
Yeah, now everything's all clean around here.
Everything's clean. We don't want to make it too clean, right? Hannah from Westmore?
One of, I think, the most powerful experiences for me from the 2 years that I participated in Diversity Day was this past year. A girl was speaking, and she was actually a panelist, but then she was speaking after she did her whole speech, and talking about people being mean to her in middle school and how it really affected her. And I was listening to it, and I realized as she was talking that I was one of the people who was not very nice to her, wasn't respectful of her, and probably at times very cruel, I guess, to her. And it really made me think about it, and I really wish that I could have had something like this in middle school to make me realize just how your words can affect people, because if I had gone through something similar, hopefully I would have realized then that it really does make an impact what you say to people.
I'm sure you're making an impact on those folks out there tonight. That goes for the adults. We're talking not just for kids, but this is for adults too. The number is 341-1155. Kids are talking down at Tokay Hall. And there's a kid who's coming down to talk about his problems, supposedly, working at the Stop and Shop. He's white, and most of the people he works with are black. They make fun of him and steal things out of his car. So if he gets down here, we're happy to have him engage the panel. That would be kind of nice. Lonnie? Lonnie from Weston?
Right.
Guy who lives right across the street from me. But this guy actually, he's next to me on the show, and he lives right across the street from me, so that's pretty nice.
It works out, yeah.
That's neighborly, and that's part of what we're talking about.
Exactly,
tonight, right?
exactly.
I'll try not to spill water on your mic.
Don't worry about it. We went into small groups after I gave the speeches, and I and the other panelists gave the speeches. And in the groups, we had to decide what other things we can do in our school to continue this program, to make it not just a one-day thing, and to make it a successful program. And in our small groups, so we decided that one of the decisions was that we should really do this earlier. We should do this sometime in middle school, and then do it every year, something like Staples does afterwards. And that seems good, but I was thinking maybe children that age aren't ready for something that we did at high school, because it was a very powerful program, and I'm not sure that we could really affect people that age in middle school. I know it's a very crucial age, but
let's debate that.
But I'm not really sure how successful it would be if we did it then.
Lindsay and Matt have something to say about that. So
I just want to say
it's a good issue, I think.
I kind of disagree with Lon's position. I think middle school would be a great place to start. I think the biggest part of what ADL did, though, I think is with students. I think if high school students went down and talked to middle school students, I think that would make an incredible impact, because I remember when I was in middle school, if a teacher got up and spoke, it was automatically tuned them out, automatically didn't listen to what they had to say. But if there was a high school student that came down and started talking, it was like, oh, I sort of look up to this person, or oh, I even have respect for this person, so I'm going to listen to more what they have to say. And I think it comes back to how much ADL can do for a school is how much the students take it into their own hands. And I think, I know a lot of kids in our school are pretty lackadaisical, and I think that there are those few students that are stepping up, and I think that the more and more students that try to take things like this into their own hands and try to take leadership positions, I think the more powerful it'll be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Matt. I think that middle school is a great place to start, and that although maybe some things are too intense for the middle schoolers, we were looking to do a modified program, whether it not be exactly the same, but something similar that reaches out more to them and they can more relate to. And I think that also high school students they really look up to, and listening to us talk, I think we'll get a great deal of attention, and I think a lot of people will change from it.
I'll tell you, we did something in the middle school. The kids are talking. We actually did a mock radio show in the middle school gym. And we had high school kids come over on the panel and talk about what it was like for them fitting in, the struggle of being a middle school kid and being popular, and the kids were amazing. But it did probably help to have the seniors come down, or juniors. Actually, a lot of them were seniors. But I was amazed, actually, in some ways I thought the middle school kids were more vocal than the high school kids.
Definitely, I agree.
And don't underestimate middle school kids, because we did a show with middle school kids on Kids Are Talking, and they held their own. So we have to be careful about that. I think it's true, it's dangerous, but it doesn't get down, I think, to the lower years, because look at what we talked about earlier with Steve's experience and other people's experiences. If we can do that, I would support that.
I think sort of off that with getting into a younger age, I think I believe myself that there's sort of three different ways that we can take information or take a diversity day type thing like this in. I think you can take it in your head, you can take it in your heart, and you can take it in your gut or in your soul. And I think going through school, the longer you're in school, I believe that you get more and more into your head, and it's easier for you to dismiss an idea. It's easier for you to not listen to someone when you're in your head. And I believe the younger you are, the more you are, the closer you are to your gut and to your soul. And I think that it doesn't have to be as intense, but I think just getting up and speaking about name calling and things like that, I think that the younger students will be able to take it in a deeper sense than a lot of the high school students did.
I think that
This is Mike Budd, my musician, who has something that he wants to say. You can't sit here in silence any longer.
I'm sorry, I agree with all you guys. I think that this should definitely be brought into the middle school, and I mean, I don't want to be too radical, but I think that, maybe bring it even into the elementary schools, because, I mean, as long as there's kids interacting, there's going to be kids that are going to be, being ridiculed, there's going to be the bullies, and you see that all the way, down to kindergarten, maybe into nursery school, and the younger you get at the kids and teach them the correct way to interact with each other, the better off they're going to be in the later years. And I know from my experience, a lot of the kids in middle school who are the ones that were being ridiculed, they learn what to do from that, and they go to high school, and then they start ridiculing, the people that they feel are below them. It's just a matter of superiority, and there has to be a better way to get kids to feel good about each other. And one other thing is, a lot of this has been talked about, calling people names and putting them down. And you can, you can stop that, but you can also take it one step further and try to encourage, positive interactions and compliments and stuff like that.
Thanks, Mike. That's a good point. Lindsay?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think it can also almost be more effective when you get into the younger grades, because that's really when it starts. And while in high school we have a lot of apologies and a lot of people say, I'm sorry for what I did, but if we could really get back there when it was really happening and have them realize that before the problem started, then I think it'd be a lot more effective.
Yeah, I also think, I think now I'm going to take my headset off. I think that your point's well taken also, but I think we don't compliment enough. We're always looking for the negatives. I think that's what you were saying, Mike. And maybe we need to, what do you think about that? That maybe we need to acknowledge people more, even for the things that we might normally think are small. We ought to celebrate more, and perhaps focus on more positive things at a very early age for kids, and make them feel that what they're doing is more meaningful.
I agree completely with that. I think that there's a lot of ways that teachers or the school tries to have kids interact in a positive way, but I just remember from when I was younger that I always thought of it as sort of corny, as not something that was that cool. And I think that's where high school students coming in and trying to lead a program like that would make that much of a difference. And
that's a good point too. We tend to think that sensitive feeling statements are like corny, too mushy, not masculine.
I mean, just going back when I was at boarding school, it was a large focus too, constructive criticism and being positive towards other people. And I think that the school is definitely focused in a negative way, and I think that a lot of it has to do with how people feel about themselves. I know when I'm having a bad day and when I feel like crap, I'm more likely to jump on someone else's back than I am to give them some positive feedback. And I think that the more and more people can focus on themselves and how they're doing, the better they feel about themselves, the more likely they'll be to compliment other people.
And take responsibility for your bad mood rather than taking it out on someone else. I hope they can learn that. That would be great.
In fact, one school that we worked with was inspired just by that fact that we need to do the positive, and so they did Make a Difference ribbons, and they sold those in the school, and you were supposed to be giving them to someone who made a difference in your life. It could be that they smiled at you on a day that you were down. It could be a teacher who inspired you, a friend who you can share your troubles with, but people were walking around with ribbons all day, and it just really made people have an understanding of who do you appreciate in your life, and that kind of positivity really carried forward Diversity Day in a very different kind of way.
Hannah?
I agree with what Matt and Michelle both just said. I think a lot of the little things really do make a difference, and people need to realize that just as Michelle was saying, a simple smile or hi to people can really make a difference, and just to make sure you do that, because that does make all the difference in some people with their day or their life or whatever it may be.
So this is not just Littleton, Colorado, or Columbine. What I wanted is we have about 8 minutes. Believe it or not, I told you before the show I was talking to the kids. We said we're gonna have enough to talk about, and I'm already aware of the fact that we only have like 8 minutes to go. So I'm going to sneak in a question. I saved it because I didn't want to spend the night talking about Columbine and Littleton. But what would have happened, do you think? This program didn't take place out there. I mean, and now there's a lot of blame on the parents. Everybody's blaming this on the police. What do you think? Do you think a program like this would have made a difference? Those two kids, and you have anything to say about that? I know you've said a lot about it already. But.
Yeah, I think all of us will agree that this program opens things up, and you trust people more after you experience Diversity Day. And if I can remember correctly, the thing with Littleton was it was like the football players against some of their own little group. I guess they had their own
a lot of those cliques.
Yeah, the trench coat mafia, and you never know if they had the diversity program. I mean, I reached out to a bunch of kids that I would never speak to, and you never know. Maybe those trench coat mafia, they might have gone to Diversity Day and said, I need to go up to that football player and tell him, you got to stop what you're doing. You're putting me down, and I don't like it. And that the interaction is where you can grow from that, and you can't. You make a really bad situation good when you start talking to someone, and it's sort of like negotiating. It's like, this is what you do to me. Can you stop?
Those kids were crying out.
Yeah, they were.
Absolutely. I think that what was really nice about the program was that it really reaches out to everyone, and it is the type of thing where, especially in at least a town like Weston, it's very cliquey. And what was nice was that we had everyone up there. I mean, we had our captain of the football team, standing up there talking about the things that he's experienced, and we also had people who I guess are part of company or different organizations that you wouldn't normally hang out with the same people. And it's amazing that so many different groups of people really got up there and shared similar things.
Matt,
yeah,
you're all amazingly. I hope you're all as amazed as I am.
I just think sort of off that. I remember when I was in middle school, I had thoughts of I didn't want to run into school and shoot everybody, but I had thoughts of definitely taking out my anger on a lot of the people that I felt were causing me pain. And I think I don't know if Diversity Day would have changed anything for Columbine, but all I know is that when I feel I can relate to somebody, I'm a lot less likely to be violent towards them or to harass them or whatever it may be. And I think one of the biggest things Diversity Day did was made kids that usually couldn't relate to each other. And I think that if that happened at other schools and these kids that are social outcasts, whatever they may be, and the kids that are jocks could relate to each other, I think it would break down all those barriers and a lot of the anger would be taken away.
I guess what you're saying is those kids really from that school, maybe it would have been helpful.
I think what happened at Weston High School during Diversity Day was great. I think it was a very powerful program, but it's hard to say whether it would affect Columbine. I mean, what made Weston so great was all the people that got up. I think if it wasn't for all the people, I'm not sure how successful it would have been.
It depends on the kids.
Right, and it depends how it's introduced, because we've heard this message so many times. You'll be nice to people, accept differences. It's hard to say whether it'd have to be presented well.
And you felt it was presented well?
At Weston, it definitely
When
was.
you say it was presented well, maybe can we address that? What does presenting well mean? I mean, what?
Well, one of the things is, as I said at the beginning, it's by and for students. I mean, we certainly have a world of different trainers there that facilitate the day, so the impact of high school students talking to each other and sharing in a real way makes a difference. Prejudice, name-calling, alienation are root causes of violence. This program is a tool. ADL's program can help.
And so by presenting that at the beginning, you feel that really helped? Maybe, Lindsay, you want to say something about
Yeah,
this?
by hearing from each other's pain, they were able to kind of get inside themselves and then share more.
But you have to have the right kids who are really
Absolutely.
receptive.
Right.
It's really the type of program where if you're willing to open up to it and you're willing to accept what's going on, then it makes a huge difference. Whereas if you come in the day saying, you know, this is stupid, I don't want to be a part of this, and you really block it off, it doesn't make a difference.
So, so who knows about Columbine, right?
Right.
You can't really
it really
say.
depends on the type of people you have there.
You just hope that we don't have those experiences and more people are influenced by what you all are saying tonight.
I just wanted to
give you the last word.
I also wanted to say something off that comment you made about the right people. I honestly don't think there are the right people or wrong people or anything. I think when I'm at Weston could go on anywhere, and I think it definitely has to do with the students that were involved, but I also agree with how it was presented. I think there's symptoms of a problem and then there's a core problem, and a lot of times we focus on the symptoms of just what names are being called and how can we change that, what better names can we use, and rather than focusing on garbage like that, they chose to focus on the core of people's personal experiences and how it really affected them by focusing on that. No matter who got up and spoke, no matter who sat back and tried to blow it off, it made an impact in everyone in one way or another.
So when you're saying about the right people, you're saying it has nothing to do with what were you saying about that?
I'm saying as long as ADL presents it in a way where they're dealing with the core of the problem rather than the symptoms, it's going to affect everyone in one way or another, whether it's them sitting at the program hearing it or word of mouth later on throughout the school.
And the core is to get underneath it all, on the symptoms is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Very quickly, we have another minute, maybe each one, just a quick thing, just about, do you want to just add one more little thought to tonight's show, and what you want to just let people know, Lindsay?
Yeah, I think that was a mistake. It's not the right people. It's the fact that you're willing to open up to it, and anyone can open up to it if they've got the right state of mind. And it's just being willing to accept it, not necessarily being the right type of person being there to.
It's just a matter of where you are and what you're willing to be open to.
Exactly.
Steve?
I just want to say to everyone out there who's listening, just take risks. And I mean, when you take a risk, it usually comes out to be, the best situation possible. Own up to your responsibilities, do whatever you have to do to make yourself and the person you victimize feel better. And that's how you're going to learn.
And you got about 10 seconds.
I agree with all that, and I just want to say that I think honesty is one of the most important things a person can hold. Integrity is one of the most important things a person can have, and I think the more honest you get, the more people will respect you, and the less name-calling and things like that will go on.
I just want to thank you all. Kids Are Talking, I'm just honored to have you all on. I have you really, all of you who had a chance to listen tonight, I think got a chance to hear points of view that we don't normally get to hear, and I think you're an amazing group. And as you can see, we've run out of time, and I bet we could go a little long, couldn't we? Right? So, Dave, what do you think, Dave? You listening?
Yeah, I'm listening. I think it was a great show, and I really heard a lot of stuff that, goes on around here.
It's amazing, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Dave, we're really getting a real, we're getting some wonderful things here at Kids Are Talking.
Yep.
And I just want to say that we're not going to be on next week. We're going to be on in 2 weeks. And actually, to continue this, we're going to do a show on gay rights. And I know there's a club at Staples High School. And there's, what's the name of the club?
Gay Straight Alliance.
The Gay Straight Alliance. So we're going to continue this theme, actually, in 2 weeks on Kids Are Talking. Future shows, we're going to look at divorce. We're going to look at how music affects kids in today's world. And Michelle, thank you for coming.
Welcome.
And, all of you for really making a difference. And clearly a program that I think really, how about a phone number? Do I give people a phone number for this program, Michelle?
That would be fabulous.
Go ahead.
You can reach the Anti-Defamation League in Connecticut at 203-772-1300.
And I now want to close the show for any of you that missed the opening of the show. On the right of me, we have Mike Budd, who is going to sing a song about tonight's show. And I want to just say thank you all for being part of Kids Are Talking tonight. And we hope that you'll be with us in 2 weeks. And I hope you all come back here.
Sure, absolutely.
We'd love to have you back. And if you don't learn something from tonight, then you better come down to Tokay Hall or find a way to hear the tape of the show, because Kids Are Talking. And here we go.
say they're straight or bi or gay, but I say we're all just shades of gray, from black to white, and all the races just shade of gray on all our faces. And if you don't know what I'm trying to say, you're just seeing one shade of gray, because the black word's there on an all-white page, but the pictures appear in shades of gray. And what about that Jewish guy? Some people say was crucified. Buddhists enlightened to the sky, and Shinto shrines with nature's vibe. If you get wise, you'll realize there's shades of gray within all our lives. Doesn't matter how you pray, it's all just different shades of gray. And when the sun slowly sets at night, the world don't turn to black and white, but watch the light as it fades away, and all hues turn to shades of gray. Because when you label things in black and white, the colors within are lost from sight, and you can take all the colors away, what must remain are the shades of gray.
Dave, you still there?
I'm here, Don.
I want to say goodnight, Dave. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we go off the air?
No, I think that's it for tonight. I think the show is pretty good.
All right, well, DJ Sketch, take it away.
All right.
And good night again from Kids Are Talking. Bye-bye.
All right, what up? You're listening to WWPT Westport 90.W.